Hello and welcome back to my channel. So in this video, we'll be constructing part 2 of the call center dashboard. So in part 2, we're going to build the agent view. So on the previous video, we built the global view here for the call center, which shows the performance of the call center overall, sliced by the different departments and the year and month. And we also created a drill through effect here to drill through a day and see the performance of the intervals. So if you haven't watched part 1, I'd highly recommend you watch it, because a lot of what we did in part 1 will be carried through to part 2 in this video. So I'd highly recommend you watch part 1 if you haven't watched it, and you can download the project files from the link down below in the description. So in this video, in part 2, we're going to build an agent view. So this agent view will show the performance of the different agents and team managers so that it can help the operations coach them. It will show the performance trends as well as the current stats and the previous year stats for the different agents and team managers. And you'll see here that is showing the trend here. By default, it shows the trend for the last 6 months or the latest 6 months in the filter context selected. So if I select, for example, 2023 and May, it will show the last 6 months starting from May and going backwards. So in this case, it's from December 2022 all the way to May 2023, because I have May 2023 here. So it's showing 6 months, with May 2023 being the 6th month. And you can also control how many months to show through this slicer here. So if I select 4, I'm going to be able to show only 4 months. So I'll show you how to dynamically show a number of months depending on your selection. There's a trick behind that, and we'll show it in this video. And if you select, for example, a single agent here, so Brandon Parsons, for example, you'll see here that we see the agent name, we see his ID number, and we see his department, and we also see his team manager, which in this case, it's Lindsay Campbell. We just extend this, so we might need to just extend this or reduce the font size. So anyways, it's Lindsay Campbell shows his team manager, and it also shows his stats, for HD for the current filter context. In this case, it's May 2023, and for the previous year, same time previous year. So it's in this case is this figure is for May 2022 and shows number of surveys last year, NPS score, CSAT score, and the previous year stats as well. So you can see here we have filters at the top. So if you have a single agent selected, we'll show the agent, but if we have multiple agents, it will say here multiple, and because these two agents are in two different teams as well, so it's multiple teams as well. But then if we select a single team, for example, it will show the name of the team manager. So these are the stats for the whole team of Gregory, Dixon, whoever reports to Gregory. So you'll see here, this is the performance aggregated, for his whole team. And of course, we have multiple agents in this case, right? Because his team is comprised of multiple agents. So showing multiple here under the agent. So in this video, we're going to construct this page here for the agent view step by step. I'm going to show you how I created this agent view, which is a typical view that the operations would request from you to help them coach the agents and the team managers and understand the trend of their performance. So this is a typical view that you might be asked for when working as an analyst for a call center. I would also like to inform you that most of the people who watch our videos are not subscribed to our channel. So I would appreciate if you would subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified with all of our future videos. And please give this video a like and share it with your friends. You will also find the project files downloadable through the link down below in the description so that you can follow along with me. And without further ado, let's get started. All right, guys. So now we're going to start constructing the agent view that we have here on this dashboard that I showed to you. So what happened is that you, as an analyst, working for Infinity Communications, what happened is that the operations team have requested a view on the dashboard to help them coach the agents and the team managers. This view should show the KPIs of the agents, such as AHT, MPS, and CSAT, and the trend for the last few months for each KPI. And they would also appreciate if you could make them dynamically control the number of months of data they could show. And please allow for filters by month, year, and by department. So this is exactly what we've done here on this agent view, and this is what we're going to start constructing. And I just wanted to let you know that a lot of what we will do here on this video when constructing the agent view will be dependent on what we've done on the previous video. So if you haven't watched the previous video, I'd highly recommend that you watch it and follow along with me step by step. And the link for the previous video will be down below in the description, as well as the link for downloading the project files. All right, so now let's start constructing our agent view. All right, so here is where we stopped at on the previous video. We created two views, the global view and the interval view. And we're going to start here from a blank page to start creating our agent view. And here is our agent view. So the first thing we're going to do before constructing our agent view is to create some measures here to calculate the number of surveys and the NPS score and the CSAT score. So to do that, we're going to create a new measure. And this one will be the number of surveys. And this is going to be the count of the rows. So we're just going to count the rows of the surveys table, because on the surveys table, each row represents a survey. So counting the rows of the surveys table will just count the number of surveys. And for this measure, we're actually going to put it under a folder here. So under the basic measures folder, we're going to call it, let's say we're going to call it CSAT and NPS, because this is going to be used to calculate the CSAT and the NPS. All right, guys, so now we're going to calculate the NPS score. So the NPS score measure that we have here, the calculation for it, I'm just going to create a new measure here, and I'm just going to paste the measure. I'm going to copy it and paste it so that I don't waste time writing it. So you can see here that we create a variable called the positive surveys. So the NPS is generally the difference between the positive surveys or the promoter surveys and the negative surveys or the detractor surveys, and then we divide that by the total number of surveys. Okay. So the positive surveys are the ones that are between 9 and 10 on a scale of 1 to 10 of ratings, or of surveys, or from 0 to 10, whether the scale is 0 to 10 or 1 to 10. The positive surveys or the promoter surveys are the ones that are 9 and 10. If the scale is between 1 and 5, or a 0 and 5, then they are the ones that are 5 only. If you get a score of 5, then this is a promoter survey, and then 4 is a neutral, and then anything 3 and below is a negative survey. So in this case, it's 9 and 10. So anything greater than 9 is a positive survey, and then for negative surveys, it's anything under 6 or under 6. So 6 and below is a negative survey, and then 7 and 8 is a neutral, but we don't need to calculate the neutral surveys because as I told you, the formula for calculating the NPS is the difference between positive surveys or promoter surveys and negative surveys, and then we divide that by the total number of surveys, which is what we're doing here. So it's positive minus negative divided by the total number of surveys, and this is going to be our NPS measure. So we're just going to press enter here to calculate it, and you can see here it's created another folder here called CSAT and NPS. I'm just gonna make sure it's under basic measures here folder, so that it's under this same folder here. We learned how to create folder structures on the previous video. It's very easy. You just type the name of the folders here, the folder path basically, and you use a backslash if you want to nest the folder inside another folder. Okay, so now we've created the NPS score measure. All right, now we're gonna create a measure to calculate the CSAT score. So to do that, I'm going to create a new measure here, and I'm going to actually paste the formula for the measure. And to calculate the CSAT score, we need to calculate the number of positive surveys, which are the number of surveys where the score is greater than or equal to 9. So anything 9 and 10 would be a positive survey or promoter survey. And then the neutral surveys would be the ones that are 7 or 8. Okay, that get a score of 7 or 8. This is on a scale of 1 to 10. If you have a scale of 1 to 5 or 0 to 5, then 5 is the promoter, 4 is the neutral, and then anything under 4 is a negative survey. But the calculation for the CSAT score would be by summing up the positive surveys and the neutral surveys and dividing that by the number of surveys. So this is how you can calculate the CSAT score. Okay, so this is going to be our measure here, and as you can see here, for some reason it gets created under CSAT and MPS, but I want it to be under the basic KPIs folder, so I'm just gonna move it by writing the correct folder structure here so that it moves. So apparently, so this should be under basic measures, not basic KPIs, basic measures. Okay, so now I've moved it here under the same folder, as you can see. All right, so we have these basic measures that we're going to use here on our KPI card. We've created a measure to calculate the number of surveys, another one to calculate the MPS, and a third one to calculate the CSAT score. All right, so now let's create these labels here on the KPI card at the top. So we want to create a label to show the agent name, and if there are multiple agents selected, we want to show the word multiple. And also the same here goes for the team manager. So if there's a single team manager selected, we want to show the team manager's name, and this is the case if you have a single agent, for example, selected that belongs to a single team manager, or if you have a single team selected for that particular team manager, then it will show the team manager's name. Otherwise, it would show multiple. Okay, so to do that, we're going to create some measures here. So the first measure here we're going to create is the agent name label. Let's say we're going to call it agent name label. And this is going to be by using the selected value function. So the selected value function will show a single value for a column if there is a single value selected. And in this case, it's for the column of the agent name in the agents table. So if there is a single value selected, if there is a single value on the agent name column, this means that there's a single agent selected, it will show its name. Otherwise, you can actually give it a second input, which is an optional input, which is the alternate result here, and it has as you can see, it has some square brackets around it, which means that this input is optional. So the default value for that, if you have multiple values selected, you will get a blank value. But I want to show the word multiple in case that there are multiple values selected. Okay, I want to show the word multiple. So this is what I'm going to do here. This is going to be our agent name label. Okay, and I'm going to copy that because I'm going to use it as well for the team manager name, and by changing some small bits here. So here's the agent name label. I'm going to put it under a folder called labels agent view. So labels agent view. So this is going to go under this folder, as you can see here. And then I'm going to create another measure here. And I'm going to call it team manager name. So label. So I'm just going to change that to team manager name. So it's going to be, using the same concept, team manager name, label. And this is going to be by searching for the single value selected on the team manager column on the agents table here. Okay, and if there are multiple values, then show me the word multiple. This is going to be it. Here it is. And so I'm going to use these two measures to show the agent name and the team manager name. All right, so now let's create the KPI card here at the top. So I'm going to insert a new KPI card here. And the first card that I'm going to insert here, I'm going to create using the measure for the agent name label. Okay, so I'm just going to insert that. So as you can see here, it will show us the currently selected agent, but we have multiple agents, and we're going to insert the team manager name label as well that we've just created. And then we're going to insert the AHT. So we have the AHT measure created already from the previous video. Right, so this will be under AHT calculations here. So now you see how useful it is to have your measures in different folders. so that you would have a bit of organization for new measures. And then you will insert the number of surveys here, but then we will need to increase the number of columns that we have here. So we're going to select our card here. We're going to go to the formatting, and under layout, you'll see here that we have the card as a single row. We'll make it a grid, and we'll make it have how many columns? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 columns here on our card. So it's gonna show us 6 columns by 1 row. So here's the number of surveys. We're also gonna insert the NPS score to the card. So the NPS score should be a percentage. So we're just gonna change the formatting for it to a percentage, and let's make it with 1 decimal place only. Okay, so now we will show it as a percentage. We're gonna, change the card formatting and do the coloring and all that, and then the CSAT score as well. So we're gonna insert that as well, and this also should be a percentage with 1 decimal place. And for the formatting, we can actually kind of take a shortcut by copying the formatting from the previous card that we had created, right? So this is a bit of a shortcut. So as you can see here, now it's starting to form up, okay? And this is gonna save us some time. But actually, part of the formatting as well is the layout. So in this case, we'll make it a grid again, and it's gonna be 6 columns by 1 row, and it's starting to form up as you can see here. Okay, so this is looking good so far. Okay, and we have this previous year AHT as well that's been inserted, I think, which we'll deal with later. We're going to create some previous year measures as well for the other KPIs. So, we just took a bit of a shortcut to color our KPI card, to give it the colors, for our color palette, but then we're going to do some more adjustments later. All right, so now let's make some changes to adjust the KPI card to look like this one. So first, on the callout values, we're going to select the agent name label here. And under the reference labels, actually, we're going to remove the divider so that there's no divider here. Okay, and we want to name the agent name. Let's just name it agent like this so that it looks like agent, like here. Okay, so now we've made the first one here look the same, as you can see. And then for the team manager, so we're gonna change here for the callout values. We're gonna choose the team manager label here, and under the reference labels, let's remove as well the divider. So let's actually select the team manager name here, label, and let's remove the divider as well. And let's rename the label here as team manager. Okay, so now it looks the same as you can see here. Let's name it just team, actually, just to look exactly like the one we created. So this one will be team. So as you can see here, now this one is the same as this one. Okay. And for the HT, you can see here we have the HT previous year. So now let's check the number of surveys. So this one, we're going to give it a label of surveys, just surveys. Okay. And then there is the NPS score. Okay, which we can call NPS, just NPS, or NPS score, whatever. So it's the same here. It's NPS score and CSAT score we have here. And also here we have NPS score and CSAT score. Okay, and then we're going to also create the previous year measures. So we're going to continue creating this KPI card. All right, so now let's continue creating more measures here to fill our KPI card. So we're going to create the surveys last year measure, which here we're going to put it in the previous year measures, and it's going to be, this measure, surveys last year, is going to be equal to, we're going to calculate the surveys, the number of surveys, and we're going to use the same period last year function, and we're going to use that, we're going to feed it the date column on the calendar table. And if we just close the brackets here and press enter, this will be the surveys last year measure, which I think it's been created under a separate folder here. So I'm just gonna move it because this is under the basic measures. Okay, so let's just put it under the basic measures folder, basic measures, and then / previous year measures, and then it's been moved here. Okay, so now it's under the previous year measures folder. So now if we go to our KPI card here and format it, we're gonna choose the surveys series, the number of surveys, and then under the reference labels here, we're gonna choose number of surveys, and we're gonna give it the surveys last year. And as you can see here, now we can control as well the name of the labels. So we can call it, let's call it just like we have here, surveys last year. So again, we're gonna call it surveys last year. Okay, and this will be in white. This should be in white, and the value as well should be in white. Okay, so here it is. Now we've created that. It's similar to that one. I think the label should be, or the title should be bolded. So we're just gonna bold it here. And as you can see here, now this looks similar to this. All right. So now we've created the surveys last year measure here. All right, so now we're gonna create the NPS score last year measure as well. So we're just gonna create a new measure here, and this is gonna be NPS score last year or previous year. All right, so this will be by using the calculate function to calculate the NPS score, and we're gonna use the same period last year function, and we're gonna feed it the date column on the calendar table as usual. Close the brackets and close the brackets again, and this is gonna be it. So this is gonna be the NPS score on the previous year. I'm just gonna move it here, or I think it has to be done on this tab. Okay, so I'm just gonna move it. So I've moved it to the previous year measures folder, and now if we select here our KPI card and then go to format, and then under reference labels, we're going to select the NPS score, and then we're going to add the NPS score previous year. So now we have it, and then for the label, it's going to be a custom label. So maybe previous year was this, and we're gonna make it white in color, and we're gonna bold the label. And actually the NPS score last year measure itself should be, or previous year measure should be, a percentage with 1 decimal place, and for the value it's also gonna be white. And there we have it. And you see, now we have the same effect here. Previous year was this NPS. All right, so we've created it, and next we're gonna create the CSAT score previous year. So it's the same process. I'm actually gonna copy here the formula, and I'm just gonna create a new measure, and I'm gonna make some small changes here. So new measure, and it's gonna be CSAT score previous year. CSAT score previous year, and this is going to be for the CSAT score, and that's it. We have created the measure now, and I'll just move it, the folder. I don't know why there's a new folder being created. I just want to move it to that folder here, and then I'm gonna select here the CSAT score, and I'm gonna add to it the CSAT score previous year. And I'm gonna select this label here, and I'm gonna make it white. I'm gonna bold the label. All right, and actually the CSAT score previous year should be also a percentage, 1 decimal place. Okay, and the value as well should be white, and there you have it. So maybe I'll just make the label instead of CSAT score previous year, maybe just previous year was this. Okay, so now we have the CSAT score on the previous year. We might need to reduce the font size here, although I think it's the same font size here, but I think it's because we have more elements here, so we might need to reduce the font size a bit. So we'll see about that, but I think, you know, we have pretty much the basics here of our KPI card created. So actually, on the card that I created here, I have reduced the font size, so I'll be reducing the font size a bit here. So for the callout values for everything, this will be 20 for the callout values. Okay, so I'm reducing the font to 20 here, and we'll keep the headers as 15. And also for the reference labels, for all the series, let's make the values here. Let's see what I used. So I made it 12, so it's going to be 12 here for the values, and I think for the title as well. Yeah, so for both the values and the title, we're going to make it 12. All right. Yeah, so now this KPI card is identical to the one that I created. All right, so now we've created our KPI card, and let's continue creating the rest of the elements of the dashboard. All right, so now let's build the slicers at the top here that we have. So we're actually going to build all the slicers except for the number of months to show, because we're going to do that later. But we're going to build these 4 slicers here: team manager, agent, agent ID, and department. So I'm just going to create a new slicer here. So it's going to be just a normal slicer. And the first one here is the team manager. So I'm just going to go get the team manager column from the agents table. This is going to be it. And then the style for that, I think is actually, yeah, the style is, it's under the slicer settings here. So we're going to make it a drop down under the slicer settings. And we're going to make the background here, we're going to make it this light purple. Okay. And we're actually going to make it as well the same color. We're actually going to make it with no background. Okay. So now it will have no background, and then it will have this light purple background as well, or it's actually a bit of a darker purple than the light purple that we have for the background, so that, you know, it's gonna give an indication that there's a drop down menu here. So it's gonna look good when we change the background here to this background, to this color. So we'll keep it like that for now. Okay. And then, you know, at the end we're gonna change the background, and it's all gonna form up nicely. Okay, and I'm gonna copy this team manager slicer, and I'm gonna add here the agent instead of so the agent name instead of the team manager, and I'm gonna call it just agent instead of agent name. So for the title, it's not the title, I think it's probably the label or something. The header, actually, the slicer header. So the slicer header is gonna be just agent. Okay, and then I'm also gonna create another one for the agent ID. So let's create another one for the agent ID here. This is gonna be the agent ID, but this one should be, the header should be agent ID. Okay, and we're also gonna create a 4th one for the department. So I'm actually gonna copy the team manager here, and I'm gonna go to the departments table, and I'm gonna add a department here instead of the team manager. So as you can see here, now I can select a department from this drop-down menu. So I have the department name here. I'm just gonna make it department, and I have these formatted correctly because remember, these are actually just transparent, okay, with no background, so they're showing the background, you know, behind them. But you know, having this darker purple color will give an indication that this is a drop-down menu, so it's gonna end up looking quite good. Okay, these are the drop-down menus at the top here. We might need to reduce their sizes a bit, but pretty much this is how I created them. All right, so now after adding the slicers at the top here, if we filter by any one agent, as you can see here, now you can see that we're able to see the agent name, and it looks like we might need to reduce the size of the font here for the agents and the team managers. So maybe on the callout values, let's make them here especially for the agent name label, we're gonna make it 15, and let's make it the same for the team manager as well. Let's make it 15 so that, you know, it's a bit smaller and it fits here in the box. So as you can see here, now we're able to see the agent name and team manager. Now we want to see as well the ID and department for the agent. So just like here, we're able to see the ID and department for the agent. So to do that, we're going to create a measure to show this information. Okay, and the measure we're going to create, I'm just going to copy the formula for it and I'm going to paste it here, and then I'm going to explain it to you. Okay, so here we're creating a variable to capture the currently selected agent ID, okay, in the current filter context. So we're using the selected value function, and the selected value function will capture a value only if there's only a single value selected in a column. So this is when it will capture the currently selected value in the column. But if there are multiple values, then it will just show a blank. Okay, so if you have the single agent's ID selected, then it will capture the agent ID. But if you have multiple agents, then it will just show you a blank value. And the same goes here for the department ID. We're gonna capture the currently selected department ID if it's just a single department. Okay, and then we're gonna look up the department name using the department ID. We're gonna look it up in the departments table. Okay, so we're gonna use this lookup value function where you give it what you need to extract here, which is the department name. So eventually we want to get the department name, and we're going to get it by searching the department ID column in the departments table. We're going to search that using the department ID that we captured here from the agents table. So we captured the department ID of the selected agent, which is this department ID, and we're going to use it to look up the department name in the departments table. And then the result here will be that, you know, if we have a blank agent ID, so having a blank agent ID means that we have multiple agents selected. So if we have multiple agents selected, we're just going to show a blank value. Otherwise, we're going to show the ID, and we're going to concatenate onto that the agent ID itself. So we're going to show this ID text ID and then colon and space, and we're going to concatenate onto that the ID itself, and we use the format function here to convert the number to a text. And then we're going to separate that with the pipe symbol and add the department name as well. Okay, so now when we use this, we can use this measure here. So if we select this card, this KPI card, and then we're going to go to format, and under the reference labels, so this is going to be under the reference labels, we're going to select the agent name label, and we're going to add this agent ID and department label to this label here. So now you can see here that we're getting the agent ID and department. So here for the label, we're not going to show the title because we're just going to show the ID here. Okay, so for the value, it's going to be white. We're going to make it white here. Okay, and let's also bold it. Okay, so now as you can see here, we're showing the ID and the department for the agent. So this looks good now. So we have the agent, we have the ID, and the department for the agents shown, below it. So that, if we have a single agent selected, as you can see here, we're showing the ID and the department. But if we have multiple agents, I'm going to hold control here and select more than one agent, then, we're going to have the word multiple. And also because these two agents belong to multiple teams as well, we have a multiple on the team. Okay, now let's just clear the selection here on the agent. If we select a single team manager, you can see here we have multiple agents and we get a single team manager. Let's also enable a helpful feature here for our drop-down menu, which is the search, which is searching the drop-down menu. So if you click on these three dots here and click on search, this will enable you to search for certain team managers. So Catherine, for example, I can select Catherine Torres this way, for example. So I'll do the same for all the other drop-down menus, because this is going to be a helpful feature. Okay, and I'm just gonna do that. So I think this one is this. So this is not enabling me to do it for some reason. The agent ID, the department is enabling me to do it, and I think it's not enabling me to do it. It's probably because the agent ID is it because it is a number? Maybe. Let's go to transform data here. And let's check the agent's table, and the agent ID is a number, so maybe it's because it's a number and not a text. This is why it's not being enabled. Okay, and actually on the departments table as well, okay, it's a department ID. Okay, it's a text. So apparently if you have a number instead of a text, you're not going to be able to search. You can only search if the data type here is a text. Interesting. All right. Now let's quickly create the slicers here on the left. Okay, so these are the slicers for the year and for the month. So we're going to create here one of these new slicers. So we're going to create this new slicer here, and we're going to add, first of all, from the calendar, we're going to add the month name. So this one is going to be for the months, and for the slicer layout is going to be a grid, and this is going to be 12 rows by 1 column. Okay, so here it is. So we have 12 rows by 1 column, and to help apply the same formatting for as the other slicer that we have here. So I'm just gonna select the slicer that we had here on the global view. I'm gonna go back here to my agent view here, and I'm gonna apply the formatting, but I'm gonna make sure as well, again, that this is 12 rows by 1 column, and we're gonna have the same effects here. When we hover over it, it's gonna be purple, and when we select it, it's gonna be black. So this helps us quickly apply the formatting to our slicer here, okay? And we could also make the callout values here maybe aligned to the middle. So this looks good. So this is basically our slicer. It also has 0 spaces here between the months, so as to make sure to compress its size as much as possible. I'm also going to change here the name of this page to agent view, just to make it clear that this is the agent view. All right. So now we have our month slicer. We can also copy that slicer, and then let's remove here the selection that we have. Let's remove the month name from it, and let's add the year. Actually, I removed it from the wrong slicer, so let's just remove the month name from that slicer, and let's add the year instead. So now we have this year slicer, as you can see here, and we can just adjust it as we want to, but this is pretty much the same thing that we have here. So we can just put it here, and then we'll take care of, the final touches and the artsy stuff at the end. But now As you can see here, we have the slicers, the basic slicers created here and formatted. So now we have slicers here that make a selection, and you can see here the selection is affecting our KPI card, as you can see here. So now we will see the numbers relevant to the selection that we make on the slicers. All right, so after creating the slicers, we're going to start implementing the effect where we select a certain number of months from the slicer at the top here, and then we're going to be able to get that number of months viewed here or presented here. So for example, let's just show you the finished dashboard here. So as you can see here on this dashboard, when I select, that I want to show 5 months, I'll be able to show 5 months starting from the month that I selected here on the slicer. Whatever I selected here on the filter context of the slicers here of the year and the month, and going back by 5 months, as you can see here, or 5 months overall. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this will show me the trend for the last 5 months. If I select 6, this will show me 6 months here on the chart. If I select 8, this will show me 8 months. So we're going to show now how to implement that trick. So first of all, we have here a month and year column on the calendar table. This is a new column that I created. So we need to create a month and year column because we don't have a month and year column on the calendar table. We don't have a column that shows, the month and the year. So we're going to go here to transform data because we created our calendar table using Power Query. So this is where we're going to add our month and year column. And we're going to add a new calculated column. So we're going to go add column and then custom column. And this will be month and year. I'm going to call it month and year. And I'm going to paste the formula for that, for creating the month and year. And as you can see here, on this formula, what we're going to do is that we're going to get the month name here in the short form. So we have the month name here, column that we created. We had created that before, so it's Jan, Feb, etc. And we're going to concatenate that onto a hyphen and then concatenate that onto the extraction of the year number here, as in, so this is for 2022, this is going to be 22, for example, 22. For 2023, it's going to be 23. For 2024, it's going to be 24, etc. Okay, so this is going to be it, where it's going to be the concatenation of the month name onto a hyphen, and then we're going to concatenate that onto the year number, but just the last 2 digits. Okay, if you don't have a month name column on your calendar table, then you would need to use the date.toText column function here on the date column, and then here you're going to write MMM instead of YY. So triple M instead of YY, and this will also give you the short form of the month name. So if we click OK here, you can see here that we've created the month and year column, and this is going to be a text. So we're going to make that a text, as you can see here. Now, we need to also create another column to make sure that this month and year column is sorted correctly, because this month and year column will be, by default, sorted in an alphabetical order. Okay, so in order to sort it correctly, we're gonna need to create a month year sorting column. Okay, so we're gonna create another column here, custom column, and this is gonna be month year sort, and here's the formula for it. So we're gonna use the date.toText function to extract the year from the date, okay, as a text. It's going to extract the year from the date as a text, because we want to extract it as a text because we're going to do concatenation here using the ampersand, and we're going to concatenate that onto the month number. So this part here will give us 2022, 2023, etc. Depending on the year, and then this one will give us the month number 01 for January, 02 for February, etc. Okay, so the result here will be, for example, 2022 01 as one number like this. Okay, this is going to be an example result for that formula here. Okay, so if we click OK here, you can see here that we get this sort of serial number, and we're going to make this an integer or a whole number because this is an integer, as you can see here, and this is going to help us sort this month and year column. So now let's go back to the home tab here and click on close and apply. So these columns here will be added to our calendar table. So if you go check here our calendar table, you'll see here that this month and year, month year sort, and also month and year columns are added. After creating the month and year column and the month year sort, what we need to do as well is to create a duplicate of our calendar table. Okay, so this duplicate is important for creating this last n months effect. So what we're going to do is that we're going to right click here on the calendar table and we're going to reference the calendar table. So this will make sure that any changes done on the calendar table will also be created on the duplicate calendar table. So let's call this, for example, calendar last n months. Okay, so this is so all this table does is that it helps us implement this effect for selecting how many months we would like to show or to go back from the current filter context. Okay, so this is going to be it. We've created this duplicate and we're going to go to our data model next to see how we're going to relate these tables as well. Okay, so we're going to click on close and apply. So we've imported now the last n months calendar as well to our data model. Okay, so here it is. We have a separate table here on our data model, which is the calendar for the last n months, which is going to help us implement that trick we're trying to implement. The next thing that we want to do is to connect the calendar last month table, last n months table, with the calendar table. So we're going to connect the date column here on the calendar last n months table with the date on the calendar table, and the type of the relationship will be a one-to-many relationship. All right, so it's going to be a one-to-many relationship from the calendar last n months table to the calendar table, and also the direction will be single, so that the calendar last n months table filters the calendar table, but not vice versa. And also, we're not going to make this relationship active. It's going to be an inactive relationship, so that this relationship can only be activated if we want to, and we'll activate it using a function, which is the use relationship function, and we'll see that shortly. So if we do that, here the relationship is a one-to-many from calendar last n months to the calendar table. It's the cross-filter direction is single, and the relationship will not be active. So we're going to click on save, and this will create that relationship. So now this calendar last n months table filters the calendar table. Okay, it filters it, but not vice versa. So the calendar table does not filter the calendar last n months, and you can see here as well that the relationship line here, the line connecting the two tables, is a dotted line, which means that this is an inactive relationship. And you can see here, of course, the direction. It goes from the calendar last n months to the calendar table. Now let's create the slicer at the top here for the number of months to show. And this is simply a parameter. So we can create a parameter by going to modeling, and then under modeling here, new parameter, and it's going to be created through a numeric range, because this is going to be a parameter that contains a range of values, from 1 to 12, for example, so that I can select between 1 and 12 months on the chart. Okay, so this is going to be PRM last n months. So I'm going to name it PRM last n months. And this will be a whole number, of course, and the minimum value will be, let's say, 1, and the increment will be 1. The maximum will be 12, and the default value, so if I don't have any value selected. It's going to be 6. So it's going to show 6 months by default. And we're going to add the slicer to this page, and we're going to create it. And now, as you can see here, we have this slicer created, and it's a slider. As you can see here, a slicer. There's a slider that allows us to select the value. However, we're going to change that. So from the slicer settings, it's going to be a drop down. And also under the selection, let's make sure it's only a single select. Okay, so it's only a single select. And then we're going to give it a quick format. So we're going to take a shortcut on formatting by selecting this slicer here and clicking on the format painter and formatting this slicer. However, formatting it will make it a multi-select slicer again. So we're going to make sure to convert it back to a single select. And we're going to place it here at the top. We can also align all the slicers, make sure they have equal spaces between them. So I'm going to select them all by selecting one and holding Control and selecting the other ones, and then going to Format, Align, and we're going to distribute them horizontally so that they would look good. We can always readjust them again, so we'll leave them for now. But as you can see here, the PRM last n month slicer here, as you can see, we're able to select a value and we can refer to that value. So after creating our slicer or our parameter here, we can refer to our value here using this PRM last n month's value. So we're going to refer to that in order to basically obtain or acquire the value that is selected here. And we'll see that. So we're going to be able to acquire the value selected here on the slicer in a measure so that we can show a certain number of months. And we're going to see how to do that shortly. And let's also not forget to change the header for the slicer to be the number of months to show. All right, so now we're going to create the measure that's going to allow us to filter for the last n months, to create that effect for filtering for the last n months here. So if you select, 5 months, you're going to have the last 5 months starting from the date selected here, and so on and so forth. So whatever number of months is selected on your slicers, this is what shows on your line charts. However, to be able to understand what is happening, we're going to insert here a table visual so that it can help us understand what is happening on that measure and, the different steps and variables we're creating on the measure. So on this table visual, we're going to start first by inserting the month and year column here from the calendar table, okay? And if we, for example, want to calculate the HT for the last how many months selected here, in this case it's for 4 months, we'd put our HT measure here. And as you can see here, whatever we have selected on the slicer just gets applied here. So we're only seeing 1 point. So this is not going to work for us. So there's something that we need to change here. What we need to change is to remove the month and year from the calendar table and add the month and year column here from the duplicated calendar table or the calendar last n months table. And I'll make sure that the month and year comes first. So as you can see here, now we have the month and year from the calendar last n months table that we had created as a duplicate from our calendar table, right? However, we're facing an issue here, which is that the months are not arranged or sorted in the proper order. They are actually sorted in just an alphabetical order. They are not sorted in their proper order, of Jan, Feb, March, etc. So for this, we're just gonna do a small step here. We're gonna select the month and year here on the calendar last n months table, and frankly we should do it on the calendar table as well. So we're going to select the column here and then sort by column, and we created a month year sort column for exactly that. So for making sure that the month and year column is sorted properly. So if we click on that, if we sort by the month year sort, you can see here that the problem is now solved, and the column is sorted properly according to the proper month order, Jan, Feb, March, etc. Let's do that for the calendar table as well. So let's also select the month and year column here and sort by column and sort by the month year sort. Remember, the calendar last n months table is just a table referencing the calendar table. So whatever columns you add on the calendar table will also be added to the calendar last n months table. And whatever changes you make. So if you add more years as well, let's say we have here the years from 2022 to 2024. Let's say you added 2025 as well to the calendar table, then this will also be reflected on the calendar last n months table. All right, so now as you can see here, what we have is the value for the HT for the selected month here on the slicer, right? So the selected month on the slicer is July 2023, and this is what we have here on the HT value. It's the value for the HT in July 2023. So actually using just the HT measure that we had created earlier on the previous video, on the previous part of creating the dashboard, on the first part, is not gonna help us. It's not gonna calculate the HT for the last n months separately. So what we need to do is to create a separate measure for that, but the measure will definitely depend on the HT. So what we need to do is to create a new measure here. So new measure, and this is going to be, let's call it HT last n months. Okay, so this will be calculating the HT in the last n months selected, on the from the slicer at the top here. So in this case, we currently have 4 months selected. Okay, but we can definitely change that dynamically. So for this measure, we're going to create a variable here, which is the last date variable. So var last date, and this will be to capture the latest date in the current filter context of the slicer. So whatever the date selected on the slicer is, the latest date, we're going to capture that. So to do that, we're going to get the maximum value of the date column on the calendar table in the current filter context, right? So in this case, if we have July 2023 selected, then we're going to have the 31st of July because this is the latest date in July, right? And then what we need to do is to create a table containing the previous dates. So the dates, 4 months previous to the latest date, right? Because we have 4 months selected on the slicer, but if we have 6 months, then it will contain the date 6 months previous to the date selected, right? So we can create another variable here having this table. So it's going to be a table that's going to help us filter filter the calendar table for these dates. So we're going to see now. Okay, so we're going to call this TBL previous dates, right? I'm going to denote it as TBL so that you understand that this is a table. This variable will result in a table. So this will be by using the dates in period function. So the dates in period function can take a starting date and then go back from that date a number of intervals, and the type of the interval you can specify. So the interval could be a day or a month or a quarter, I believe, or a year. Okay, so we're going to see that. So first, you got to give it the calendar table that you want to, that contains the date column that you want to use to go back or go forward as well from the starting date, right? So in this case, I'm actually going to use my calendar last n months table, right? So the calendar last n months table, and I'm going to use the date column on that. So this is the duplicate calendar table that we had created, right? And then the starting date will be the last date that we created, or that we captured here in the variable, using the variable, right? So it's the last date. And then we're going to go back a number of intervals. So we're going to go back negative, and the negative will be it's a negative number that depends on the PRM last month's value, right? So maybe you can either do it like this, or you can do -1 by this, because you want to go back the number of months selected on the slicer at the top, right? So this is the value selected on the slicer, right? This represents the value selected on the slicer. In this case, in our case, it's going to be 4, right? Because the value is currently 4, but if we change it to 6, then it's going to be 6, etc. Okay, and then we want to go back this an increment of months, right? So it's going to be, we're going back -4 months in this case, right? And this is because we have 4 selected on the slicer here, right? So this is why we're going to go 4, and we have a month selected here as the interval, so we're going back 4 months. So this will yield a table of dates going back 4 months from the latest date here, captured from this slicer, okay, which is the 31st of July 2023. And then our result will be, so var result, so this will be by calculating, we're going to get our result by calculating the AHT, and we're going to calculate it, when calculating it, we're going to first use this TBL previous dates, right? This table, because the filter for calculate is usually is a table, okay? So we're gonna use this table of dates here that we created, that goes 4 months back from the latest date here. We're gonna use that as a filter, and we're gonna also activate the relationship. So we're going to activate the relationship between the duplicate date table and the date table, or the duplicate calendar table and the calendar table that we had created. It's a one-way relationship, right? So we want to activate the relationship between the calendar. It doesn't matter the order. If you put the column on the calendar first or the duplicate calendar first. So we want to activate the relationship between the calendar, the date column on the calendar table, and the calendar last n months. The date column is there as well. Okay, so the date column on the calendar last n months, which is the duplicate calendar table. And we had set the relationship previously so that the duplicate calendar table filters the calendar table, but not vice versa. So the calendar table does not filter the duplicate calendar table. So this is going to be the result for now. I'm going to also add one more closing bracket, and we're going to return the result. Okay, so let's try using that measure for now. Okay, so this is going to be the measure we created, and I'm just going to add it here to the table, and let's see what happens. All right, so now let's inspect the result that we have here. So as you can see here, we're getting the HT, the result of the HT for July 2023, because we're getting that actually on both measures, right? And we're getting that on both measures. We're getting it on this HT measure here because basically where the filter applied here on the slicer is being imposed, right, on this measure. So this is why we're getting the result of the HT for July 2023. And then on our new measure, we're also getting the result of the HT for July 2023. So why are we getting the HT for July 2023 here as well? All right, so first of all, it's very important for you to have in the back of your mind that the calendar last n months table, or the duplicate calendar table, is what filters the calendar table. The filter is going in this direction from the duplicate calendar table to the calendar table, but it doesn't go the other way around. So there's no filter this way, right? There's only this red filter here, right? It's only going this way. And also, if the filter is going this way, right, it's also gonna continue flowing from the calendar table to the calls table where we calculate the HT from, right? So the filter will flow all the way from the calendar last n months table to the calls table. Okay, so if you apply a filter here on the calendar last n months, it's going to filter the calendar, and then it's going to flow as well and filter the calls table or the fact calls table where we calculate the AHT from. So it's very important for you to understand that in the back of your mind. Now let me show you some diagrams for you to be able to understand what happened here and why we're getting this result here of July 2023 on our measures, because this is the measure where we need to focus. This is the measure that's going to give us the result that we want. Okay, this is what we're trying to implement here. So we got this result here of the sales for July 2023 because, you know, we applied here this first step here. So the first step here is that we have filters coming from the duplicate calendar table or the calendar last n months table of 4 months of data, right? Because we have July 2023 selected, and then we go back by 4 months. So it's like July 2023, June 2023, May 23, and then April 2023. These are the filters coming from the duplicate calendar table. This is these red months are what is coming from the duplicate calendar table. And then from the calendar table, right, this is where we have the slicer selected, right? This is where, because our slicer comes from the calendar table, not from the duplicate calendar table, right? So this, you know, we have this blue filter coming here from the calendar table. All right. This is so this is coming from the calendar table, and the only month that we have here filtered is July 2023. So what's going to happen is that, you know, the result is going to be the intersection of the two filters, right? So we have a filter here coming from the red table for 4 months, and we have a filter coming from the blue table, the calendar table here, of 1 month. So the result will be the intersection. The resulting filter will be the intersection of the two filters, which in this case is going to be July 2023. And this is why you're seeing the value of the AHT for July 2023 here on this measure. So this is exactly what we applied on the measure. As you can see here, we captured the latest date. We created a table of dates, you know, going back, you know, how many months. So it's, in this case, it's 4 months from the selected date here, July 2023, and then we calculated the AHT and we applied a filter, which is a table of 4 months, right? And we activated the relationship as well. So in this case, the duplicate calendar table is filtering the calendar table, right? So you can see here also here that we have a one-to-many relationship here, right? The relationship or the filtration is going from the calendar last n months table to the calendar table. Okay, so this is why you're getting so this is why the resulting filter is the intersection between the dates on these two tables, which is July 2023, and this is why you're seeing July 2023. So in order not to have just a single month as our result, what we can do is to remove the filter that we have here on the calendar table. So this blue July 2023 month, right, we can remove it. We can just eliminate that filter. Okay, so if we eliminate any filter, that any date filter applied on the blue calendar table, if we just eliminate filters using, for example, the all function, you could also use the remove filters function. So both will give you the same result. Okay, you can use the all or remove filters function. Then in this case, you know, what is going to happen is that you're going to have all the dates from the calendar table, right? So you're going to have all the dates from the calendar table, and you're going to have 4 months of dates from the calendar last n months table. It's the filter that we had applied by creating the variable with the 4 months of dates, right? So in this case, the intersection will be the 4 months of dates, right? So the intersection or the resulting filter will be just the 4 months of dates, right? It's the intersection between 4 months of dates and all the dates on the calendar table, right? Because remember, this red table filters the calendar table. So the filters, whatever filters applied here on the red table, will flow to the calendar table. So these 4 months of filters will flow here to the calendar table, which will have, you know, filters for all the dates. So the intersection between the filters for all the dates and the 4 months of filters, in this case, because we have 4 months selected here, will be just 4 months of filters, right? So if we do that on our measure, if we add a filter here for all calendar, okay, we remove all the filters on the calendar table, okay, what will happen is that we're gonna have this number here, but this number is the same for all the months, right? And this number is actually the aggregation of the AHT. So it's the aggregated AHT for all these 4 months. So it's like the AHT across all these 4 months aggregated, okay? It's like you're calculating the AHT for overall for these 4 months, okay? And this is the dominating filter now here. As you can see, so there's also, you know, a filter coming from here, right? There's a filter coming from here, which is coming from the duplicate calendar table, right? This is so a filter here on each line of the table. It's a single month coming from the duplicate calendar table. However, because the calculate function can overwrite the filters, right? You have a filter applied here that is overriding or overwriting the filter that is applied here on each line, the month filter applied here on each line. And this month filter, remember, this filter is coming from the calendar last n months table or the duplicate calendar table. Each of these filters is coming from the duplicate calendar table, but it's being overridden, right? The filter is being overridden by what we have done here on the measure, right? On the measure, which is, you know, by this filter of dates, of 4 months of dates, or whatever, how many months you select here. So it's being overridden, and this is why you're seeing the aggregate AHT for the 4 months selected, or regardless of how many months. If you select 5 months, this is the aggregate AHT for 5 months. Okay, I'm going to put it back to 4 months. So now, you know, after applying the all function, we have this aggregated AHT. Now, the next step is that we can ask DAX, or we can add to the calculate function that we want to keep the filters applied here on each line of the table. Okay, because if we keep the filters, then the resulting filter will be the intersection. The resulting filter on each line of the table here will be the intersection of this filter, right? Of the line filter, right? It's a filter on each line, and you know the filters applied here for 4 months. Okay, so the intersection, if for example this line is June 2023, then it will show June 2023. If this line is May 23, then it will show May 23. And it will not show a value for any other line that is not intersecting with these 4 months that are applied, right? So if this is April 2023, right? And we have, you know, the filters for these 4 months, which include April 23, then it's going to show a value. Otherwise, it will not show a value. So if we use the keep filters function and apply that on the duplicate calendar table, so if you add that as a filter as well, so I want to keep the filters from the calendar last n months table, or the duplicate calendar table, right? So if I ask that I want to keep the filters applied from that table as well. So if I press enter, now what I see here is that the values are only going to appear in case you know, I have any of the 4 months selected. So from July 2023 and going backwards by 4 months, I'm only getting the results on these 4 months, right? And on the other months, I'm just getting the blank value, and they are actually being shown because we still have the HT measure here. So if I remove the HT measure from this table will be reduced to only these 4 months, right? So imagine now that this is a line chart, and we have the months on the x-axis and the HT on the y-axis. So now if I convert this to a line chart, you will see that now our line chart shows only the 4 months selected, which is 4 months going back from July 2023. So if I select 5, for example, I'll go back by 5 months. If I select 6, I'll go back by 6 months. And because we set this that if we remove the filters, then so if we remove all the filters from this slicer, it will default to 6 months actually if we don't have anything selected. And I think we can't remove the filter unless we have the multiple probably. So I think we need to go back maybe to the slicer settings, so selection. If we remove the single select, I believe we can remove the filters in this case. So now it's going to be all, right? And it's going to default to 6 months actually. Okay, but if we select 4 here, it's going to be 4. If we select actually 3 or 5, it's actually going to take the higher value, but this shouldn't be the case. We should be just selecting a single value. So it's better that this filter, that this slicer would be a single value. So if we show select all, we don't want to show a select all. Actually, it's better that we make it a single select. So anyways, if you remove the filters on the slicer, okay, it will show 6 months because this is how we set the parameter. Okay, so now you should be able to understand why we're obtaining this result and how we obtained it and how this measure works, which is the HT last n months measure here that we created. You should now be able to understand, hopefully, how this measure works. And to give credit where credit is due, I would like to thank Mark Russo and Alberto Ferrari from SQL BI for this trick, because I watched a video on how to implement this trick on their channel. I'll leave you the link for the video down below in the description. All right, so now that we've created the first measure here for AHT, let's just adjust this visual, this line chart visual. So maybe we can remove the labels here. Let's just remove the label on the y-axis because we don't need it, the title on the y-axis. And on the x-axis as well, we don't need it as well because it's obvious that these are the month and the year. And let's also change the title for the visual. This is going to be HT trend. All right, so now that we've created the HT trend visual, we're going to basically rinse and repeat. So we're going to create a measure for CSAT, MPS, and for transfers. And actually for transfers, we need to create the basic transfers measure. So let's start with that actually. So I'm going to create a new measure here. And for the transfers, so the transferred calls, we need to calculate the transferred calls. The transferred calls will be equal to the sum of the calls transferred here, the sum of the call transferred column on the calls table, because this call transferred column has a 1 or 0 value. So if the call has been transferred, there is a 1 value, and if the call has not been transferred, then it's a 0. So if you sum up this column, you will get the number of calls transferred. So this is what we're going to calculate here, and we're actually going to move that to a separate folder on its own. We're going to call it transferred calls. So under maybe basic measures here, basic measures, let's call the folder actually transfers. Okay. So this is where we're going to move it. So we have a folder here called transferred, and this is the transferred calls measure here, and then we're going to calculate a transfers percentage. So this is simply the number of calls and the number of transferred calls divided by the number of calls answered, right? So transfers percentage, this is going to be equal to, by dividing the transferred calls by the answered calls, right? So transfer calls by calls answered, this is going to be our transfers percentage, and we're going to move this as well to be under the transfers folder as well. All right. So now we're going to be able to rinse and repeat, as in creating, so we've created an HT last n months measure. We're going to rinse and repeat and create a CSAT last n months, so as to create the same visuals that we have here. So CSAT last n months, MPS last n months, and transfers percentage last n months. Okay, so we're gonna create these measures. So let's start with the CSAT last n months. So I'm just gonna paste here my measure, and I'm gonna make small changes to the HT last n months. So this is gonna be CSAT last n months as the name of the measure, and then this is gonna be using the CSAT score instead of the HT, and that's it. It's a simple change we're making there, and if we do that, this should give us the CSAT last n months. So I'm just gonna move it here to the CSAT and MPS folder. Okay, and we're just gonna copy this. So we've copied this visual, and we're gonna remove from the y-axis, or instead of the HT last n months, it's gonna be the CSAT last n months, and we're just gonna change the title here to CSAT trend instead of HT trend. Okay, and we're gonna do the same as well for the MPS. So I'm gonna create a new measure as well, and I'm gonna paste my HT, and this is gonna be MPS last n months. Okay, and I'm gonna use the MPS score measure here to do the calculation. And as you can see here, now we have the MPS last n months, and we're just gonna move it. So this one, we're just gonna move it to this CSAT and MPS folder here, and I'm just gonna copy the CSAT trend visual, and I'm gonna remove the CSAT, and I'm gonna add the MPS last n months, as you can see here, and I'm just gonna change the title. So this is gonna be MPS trend, and now I'm gonna copy this one as well, and I'm gonna create a transfers trend as well. Transfers last n months measure. So I'm gonna paste as well my HT. This is gonna be transfers percentage last n months, and this is gonna be by using the transfers percentage measure, and we're gonna add this. So this transfers percentage, this is a percentage. This should be a percentage as well. Let's say 0 decimal places, because we don't care about the decimals. And this transfers percentage last n months, we're gonna move it to the transfers folder as usual. So just as you can see, rinsing and repeating, this is gonna be a percentage as well, 0 decimal places, and we're gonna remove the MPS last n months and add the transfers last n months, and just change the title to transfers percentage trend. All right. So as you can see here, all we've done is that we've just rinsed and repeated. We can also start adding the data labels actually to these charts. So I'm just gonna add the data labels here, data labels, and actually the CSAT trend should be a percentage as well. CSAT last 9 months should be a percentage, let's say with 1 decimal place. So enough. And then NPS trend as well. NPS last 9 months should be a percentage. Let's make it with 1 decimal place. And then let's add the data labels here as well. So we've added the data labels and the transfers as well. We're adding the data labels. So as you can see here, we managed to create all these charts. The HT trend, it had a 1 decimal place, when we're troubleshooting the measure and understanding how it works. But for now, we don't care about the decimal places, so I'll make it with 0 decimal places. Okay, so it's a decimal number, but we're gonna show it with 0 decimal places as well. So as you can see here, now we've created these charts, which are similar to the ones that we have on the screenshot. Okay, so our dashboard is starting to form up. As you can see here, we're just going to do some finishing touches. We're going to create this clear filters button here, and we're going to add the logo and do the background, the artsy stuff, and make sure we have navigation buttons here as well. So our dashboards are starting to mature and develop, as you can see here. One point I would like to raise about the numbers here, which is that these numbers are completely fake, and these NPS scores are really bad. Realistically, probably unless the service is really bad, you're not going to get these numbers. But I mean, they could happen in the reality, but they're really bad numbers. Also, the transfers percentage are so high, but as I told you, the data is completely fake. So if the numbers seem unrealistic, just ignore the fact that they might be unrealistic. What we're showing here are techniques on how to build a Power BI dashboard. So this is not a real dashboard, or it's not real data, not real business data. So excuse the fact that the numbers might seem unrealistic. And actually here, the HT as well, we're just going to make it with 0 decimal places as well, because we don't care much about the decimal places. So there you go. As you can see here, our dashboard is starting to mature and develop, and we're going to continue building our dashboard. All right, so now let's add the clear filters button and activate it. So we have this clear filters button here. So I created this clear filters icon using Canva, and I will be including it as part of the project files that you can download through the link below in the description. So I'm gonna import the icon for the clear filters button. So I'm gonna go to the insert tab on the ribbon here, and then click on image, and I'm gonna insert an image here for the clear filters button. So I just navigated to the location, and here it is. Of course, as I told you, it will be included with the project files. I'm just gonna try to organize things here. So as you can see here, this is a nice clear filters button that I created using Canva. You can also create it using other tools. So there are many websites, just such as flaticon.com. There is also icons8.com. So there are many websites for creating that, but I personally use Canva because it has a lot of templates and icons, and it has great customization. And of course, I use a paid version of Canva. So if you'd like to subscribe to Canva, I'll leave you a link down below in the description as well. All right. So now I've inserted this icon, and I'm going to make it, remove all the filters. So in order to do that, I'm just going to remove all the filters that I have here. And this is a drop-down menu that has a single selection, which I believe it should have a single selection, even though the one I created here does not have a single selection. But, after reviewing things, I think that this should be a single selection slicer. So I think this is something that I forgot to do, and I'm just gonna adjust it here. And let's say I want the default to be 6 months. So this is what, clearing the filters will do. Will clear all the filters and will also, make it 6 months. Make a 6 month selection. Okay. So even though now, I mean, what I'm doing now, if I clear the filters, what it does now is if I clear the filters, you can see here it makes it all, and it actually puts it back to multiple selection mode. So I think I need to adjust that. So I'll adjust that later on the one I've done, but I'll do it here. So as you can see here, this is a single selection for now. I'll just put it as 6 months. I'll remove the filters here from the year and from the month as well. So now this is the state of having all the filters cleared. Okay, so what we need to do is to create a bookmark. Okay, so as you can see here, here's the bookmarks, and if you don't have this bookmarks icon, you need to go to view and then click on bookmarks here to toggle viewing the bookmarks on. Okay, so now you have this bookmarks tab here or button here, and then you have this bookmarks. So now you can bookmark the current state here as having all the filters cleared. So I've added a bookmark. This is like taking a snapshot of the current state of the filters. Okay, so if you double click here, you can rename it to clear filters, for example, or clear all filters. And as I told you, clearing all filters means having all the filters cleared plus having the default state of showing 6 months back from the month selected. And here, because you don't have any month selected here, it takes the maximum date in the current filter context. So the maximum date is basically the maximum date on the calendar table. So it's December 2024, and then going back, and showing a 6 months trend. That's what it is. So now we've created this bookmark. We're now gonna activate this button to use this bookmark. So we're gonna click on the button. We're gonna go here to format, and then the action will be to activate a bookmark. And the bookmark we're gonna activate is clearing all filters. So now if we select some filters here, as you can see, select the agent, select the department and an agent. Let's say we're showing some numbers. Now, if we click on the clear filters button, and because we're in the developer mode or development mode on Power BI desktop, you need to press and hold Control as well while clicking. And as you can see here, now we go back to the state of having all the filters cleared and also having 6 months to show here. So now we've created this clear filters button, and we have activated it. So let's now continue building our dashboard. All right, so now we're gonna put the final touches to our dashboard. So we're gonna show how to create the background. We've actually talked about creating the background on the previous part. So we created these buttons as well on the previous part. So I highly recommend that you watch the previous part, and I actually have it divided into chapters as well. So you can watch the part for creating the background only if you would like. Because I'm just, I created this background basically from the previous background. I just added the buttons, so I did that on the previous part. So we're just gonna start from there. So if we actually just duplicate this slide here, and let's just make it the last one here, number 6, and let's just remove all these squares here, or sections, all these different sections. So as you can see here, I have, I'm starting from where I stopped on the previous part. So we created this background, we created the buttons, we did that on the previous part. So all we need to do now is to put like the placeholders, or create the placeholders for the different visuals on our dashboard. So we could also just take a screenshot here from our dashboard. So this is actually even another way to do it. So let's press Windows Shift and S on our keyboard to take a screenshot, and I'll just take a screenshot here of the dashboard, and I'll paste it here in PowerPoint. Okay, so this is going to be our dashboard here. Okay, and let's actually increase the transparency on this picture so that we can barely see the different visuals. Okay, and we can actually create the back and we can create the placeholders this way actually. So let's just now copy this shape here, this large shape that we have, and paste it, and we'll just make a small shape out of it, and let's add some shadow to it. Okay, so I'm just gonna add some shadow here, and let's just put it over these like this. Okay, put it over the different visuals to create placeholders for these visuals, as you can see here. So I'm just creating placeholders. Okay, and I'm also gonna create a placeholder for my KPI card like this. So I'm gonna create a placeholder for my KPI card like this. Let's just do it like this or so, and we can always do some adjustments later because you don't always get it right the first time. And we're gonna create a placeholder here as well for the slicer, for this month slicer, and another placeholder for the years slicer here. Okay, and let's also create a placeholder for the clear filters button. Let's create one for the clear filters button like this. Let's say we're gonna make it like this, and we're gonna also create a placeholder for the logo, because we're gonna add a logo here for our company, for Infinity Communications, which is our company. And as you can see here, we've created some placeholders for the visuals here that look good, and I'm also gonna create a placeholder here as well for our slicers. Okay, for the slicers at the top, I'm gonna create a placeholder for these as well. Okay, and let's actually expand the placeholder for the KPI card here. We might add actually one more KPI to the card, we'll see. Okay, so as you can see here, I managed to create these placeholders, and I'm gonna make them at equal distances. So I'm gonna distribute these vertically. Okay, and I'm gonna also align their centers. Okay, so now they look fairly good, and as you can see here, I'm trying to align everything so that it looks good. Okay, and let's also align this one for the clear filters button here, align it with them, with the slicers. Okay, and this looks good for now. We might make some modifications later, but this looks good for now. Okay, so now I've created these placeholders for the different slicers, and I'm gonna actually delete the picture, the very transparent picture that I added here for our dashboard. So I added, remember I added the picture and made it transparent, but I'm gonna delete it now, and now we have these placeholders. Now let's save this as a picture. So I'm gonna press Control Shift and S on my keyboard, and this is gonna be the call center dashboard background for the agent view. Okay, and this is gonna be, let's make it a JPEG file, and we'll save it for now, and we're gonna insert it into our Power BI file here. So we're gonna insert it actually as a canvas background. So we're gonna browse to that, and this is gonna be our agent view background. Let's make the transparency 0, and as you can see here, we're now able to see it, and we're gonna be able to put our visuals inside these placeholders, as you can see here, and we can always make adjustments later, as I told you, because you don't always get things right the first time. Okay, we're gonna place our different visuals here inside these placeholders. And here's our clear filters button, and here are our slicers. Let's just shrink some of them to make sure they fit well. But actually, let's just give it some space for the choices as well. Department 1 here, let's give it some more space. The agent ID can be small because the ID is just a number, so it doesn't have a lot of characters. Team manager should be wide enough, and the number of months to show, we could even shrink the name of the slicer, but this is fine for now. And let's remove the background here for these visuals. So I believe this is under size and style. We'll remove the background here as well. Remove background and remove background. As you can see here, this is starting to form up. Now, as you can see here, our dashboard is starting to form up. We might actually need to increase the size of the shape that is surrounding everything. So we could go back here to the picture. We could just increase its size a bit, give ourselves some more space here. Okay. And so that we can give these slicers a bit more space even. And let's just make sure here, let's move our logo here to the upper left corner. So we've done some adjustments to this background. We're going to press Ctrl Shift and S. And let's just save it again, overwrite the one that we saved here, or just this one. And now let's reinsert the background again. So now, as you can see here, we are able to finish our dashboard now. As you can see here, all right, let's just align everything. So I'm pressing and holding Shift and selecting everything, all these slicers to align. Let's align their top here, and let's also distribute them horizontally. So now they look good. Our dashboard looks good. So let's just check this dashboard. As you can see here, it looks quite similar to this one. We might just need to reduce the size of this clear filters button a bit to fit this placeholder. I'll also reduce the size of the slicer to fit this placeholder as well. And we'll just make some small adjustments here and there. As you can see here, trying to fit the charts in our placeholders, as you can see. And our dashboard is almost finished now. We'll just insert the logo here on the upper left corner. So I'm going to insert here an image. I'm going to insert my logo. So here it is. Here's my logo. You'll also find it in the project files. So I've now inserted my logo here, and as you can see here, I'm fitting it in this space here. And now our dashboard is finalized. As you can see here, we've put the final touches to our dashboard, and it should be ready. We might need to increase the size of the placeholder for the KPI card, but it looks good. So as you can see here, this is our dashboard now finalized. We've done the artsy stuff here, created the background. All right, so now that we've created the background, we can now start creating a button. So actually, we need to create a button to navigate us back to the global view. Okay, so this is just a shape here. It's not a button so far. It's just a shape that is created as part of the background. We're going to create a button and place it here. And this button will take us back to the global view. So this allows us to navigate between the global view and the agent view. Okay, so we're going to insert a button here It's going to be a blank button, and when it gets inserted on the upper left corner of the screen, so be aware of that. And we'll make this button, actually the size and style here, I think on the button style, we can make the shape, instead of a rectangle, let's make it a rounded rectangle so that it fits this shape better. And then let's remove the border as well. And let's make the action of the button, the action will be, we're going to add an action to that, and the action will be, it's going to be a page navigation. It's going to navigate back to the global view. Okay. So now, as you can see here, we can press and hold Control to go back to the global view. And this is actually, we press and hold Control only in Power BI desktop, you know, so in the development environment. But, you know, when the dashboard gets uploaded to the cloud or gets put on the Power BI service, then we won't need to press and hold Control. Okay, so press and hold Control, this will take us back to the global view. And you can see here that there's an effect here, you know, that makes this filled, you know, it shows that we are on this tab here, and the other tabs are, you know, light colors. So this means that we are not in these tabs, we are actually in this one. So this adds a nice effect. And you can see here also that there's no button here for the agent view, so we'll need to insert a button for that as well, because this takes us to the agent view. So we're going to insert here a blank button, and it gets inserted at the top, on the top left corner, as you can see here. Let's remove also the border from here, and let's add an action, which is that it navigates us to the agent view. Okay, so now this takes us to the agent view as well. Okay, and I think we haven't made this a rounded rectangle, so let's make it a rounded rectangle as well. It looks better this way. Okay, so this will take us to the agent view. As you can see here, this will take us back to the global view. This button drills us through, and let's make this also a rounded rectangle. I think it's not a rounded rectangle, so this is going to be a rounded rectangle here, as you can see. Now this can drill us through, but we need to have a single day selected first, and then if we control and click, this will take us to the results of that day, so the interval results of that particular day, as you can see here. Okay, this is pretty much our dashboard here wrapped up. As you can see here, we managed to build this complete dashboard on 2 parts here. If you haven't watched part 1, I'd highly recommend that you watch it, because there's a lot that we've done in part 2 of creating this dashboard that that depends on what we've done on part 1. Alright guys, so this concludes our video today for part 2 of creating this call center dashboard, where we created the agent view. So I hope by now that you followed me step by step and you have another project added to your portfolio. And if you haven't watched part 1, I'd highly recommend that you watch it, because a lot of what we've done in part 2 is dependent on what was done in part 1. And if you'd like to thank us by buying us a cup of coffee, you can always use the super thanks button down below the video. And if you would like to consult with us or book training with us, you can always contact us through the link down below in the description. And if you found this video helpful, please make sure to like and share the video and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified with all future videos. And please follow us on social media. You'll find the links down below in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.